That's the one thing about our audience. They always want a new guy to break through the glass ceiling.
All you have to do is just be real.
Allow me to reintroduce myself. I am the jabroni beating, pie eating, trailblazing, eyebrow raising, talking is done, you're out of your class, no sleep till Brooklyn, The Rock whoops your ass. Woo!
I wish you and King would quit talking.
All right, welcome to Around the Ring, episode 12. Today is Monday, March 2nd, 2015. I'm your host, Dave Brown. Thanks for joining us. This week we are going to discuss the Ring of Honor 13th anniversary show. Also, I've got some thoughts on Daniel Bryan's new situation in WWE and things about a few other things going on, but we'll kind of get into all of that. Hey, don't forget to check us out online at aroundtheringok.wordpress.com. That is our official webpage. You can follow us on Twitter at aroundtheringok. Facebook is facebook.com/aroundtheringok. Also, over on the Spark Radio Network site, if you go to the sparkradionetwork.com/aroundtheringok, you can also find episodes there. Speaking of the Spark Radio Network, this weekend I got to rejoin a show that I helped start a couple years ago with my good friend Rowdy Ricky Robinson called Finding Common Ground. It's a show about politics. He and I don't agree on much of anything, but we sit together. We used to sit together every Saturday and you know, shoot the shit about the politics. And due to some scheduling issues with my work, I haven't been able to do the show, and he's been joined by a new co-host, Bryce, who's also the host of the Opinionation show on the Spark Radio Network and K98Talk.com. So if you guys have time, check it out. It was fun. We had a lot of fun. It was about an hour long, so it doesn't take a whole lot of your time. All right, so this week we're going to jump right into it. When I was first starting to put together this show, I was kind of having a hard time thinking of topics to watch, because really, this was a week in wrestling that I watched shows, I enjoyed them, but nothing really jumped out at me, other than, you know, Lucha Underground was freaking crazy, and it was a lot of fun. NXT this week was good, but not fantastic, other than the excellent Divas match. And really, what stood out to me on Raw was Raw and SmackDown was the whole thing going on with Daniel Bryan being inserted into the Intercontinental Title picture, and R-Truth on commentary. But before we get into all that, last night we did have the Ring of Honor 13th anniversary pay-per-view special, and I got to watch it this morning. And you know what? Overall, it was really good. Ring of Honor's biggest problem is with production, though. I will say it still looks pretty rinky-dinky. They're owned by a major company. Sinclair Broadcasting is a big bad mamma jamma, and you would think they would put a little bit more money into the production of this show. Right now, especially with the situation going on with TNA, there is no real definitive number 2 wrestling organization in the United States, and Ring of Honor could easily take that spot. They need a couple of things. One, they need better production, and 2, they need national television. Apparently there are rumors that they have been in negotiations with Spike TV to bring Ring of Honor to national television. That would be fantastic. Ring of Honor, as far as in-ring work, is a phenomenal product, and I'm new to it. I missed the majority of it. Like I've mentioned before, there was a good chunk of years there where I really wasn't paying attention to wrestling, and so I missed majority of Ring of Honor, majority of TNA, and unlike TNA, which I just can't watch, and I've tried, and I like a lot of the guys and gals in TNA, I just can't watch the show. Ring of Honor I enjoy, and this pay-per-view was a lot of fun. I'm not going to go through all of the matches, but I will talk about a few. The opening match, which was, in my opinion, probably the best match, was Cedric Alexander against Matt Sydal, the former Evan Bourne from WWE. This was incredible. Cedric Alexander is amazing. He is one of these fantastic talents. One of my favorite matches of 2014 was just a random match he had with AJ Styles. It was a PWG match. I just happened upon it on YouTube. It was from early in the year, and it was unbelievable. This guy is a talent. Ring of Honor needs to get him in a title picture soon, and if WWE is smart, they will sign this guy because he's going to be money. He's just that good and fun to watch. But those two had a phenomenal match. I'm still amazed that WWE let go of Matt Sydal. But, their loss is Ring of Honor's gain, and this match was excellent. It got the crowd going. Crowds are always nuts at Ring of Honor shows, which makes it so much fun to watch. And one of the things I love about NXT, which is something I also enjoy about Ring of Honor, is they tend to be smart crowds. They're smart marks, and that's fun. There was a match then, Moose against Mark Briscoe. Mark Briscoe, as the show went on, I've kind of come to really enjoy. Moose is this former football player. He looks kind of like Big Rick or Ezekiel Jackson, as he also used to be known from WWE, or Big Rick now in Lucha Underground. Huge, jacked black dude. Unbelievable athlete. The big moment in this match that really just made me go, wow. Briscoe was sitting on the top rope, and Moose jumped up and hit him square in the face with a drop kick. It was awesome. And then at one point, he had them on the outside of the ring and basically did a version of the Cesaro swing into the barricades with Briscoe, and that was really good. A couple other highlights. ACH and AJ Styles had a killer match. Again, if they hadn't had a good match, it would have been freaking weird. A pillow can walk into the ring with AJ Styles and have a great match. And, I'd probably say the same thing about ACH. I'm not real familiar with this guy, but he was awesome. Another guy that WWE should really think about picking up. That was a lot of fun. The Young Bucks and Red Dragon had a superb tag title match that was back and forth, spots like crazy. Lots of fun. Red Dragon ended up winning in the end, holding on to the Ring of Honor tag titles. The Bucks still have the IWGP light heavyweight tag titles. I mean, these are two of the absolute best tag teams in the world today. I would absolutely love to see both of these teams, get to mix it up with the Usos and Kid and Cesaro and bring some real depth into the tag team division in the WWE. But apparently the WWE reached out to the Young Bucks, and the Young Bucks told them to suck it. And so, there it is. Alberto El Patron and Jay Lethal also had a great match. Alberto El Patron, the former Alberto Del Rio, has really come to life since leaving WWE. I saw him on some appearances on Lucha Underground and was on fire in Ring of Honor. He's just gets the crowd going. He's fun to watch. This was a really good match. There was interference, and it ended up with Lethal retaining the television title, but it was a lot of fun. The main event was a fatal four-way. Right before the main event, Samoa Joe came out for his triumphant return to Ring of Honor. Samoa Joe is the longest reigning Ring of Honor champion, world champion ever, 600 and some odd days. And then, he recently left TNA, and there's a lot of talk that he's going to eventually end up in WWE and NXT. Well, we'll see, but he came out to a huge ovation. People were going nuts. And he was there at the beginning of the match. Now, the match itself was Jay Briscoe defending the Ring of Honor World Championship against Maso Ciampa, Hansen, and Michael Elgin. And it was a great match. I fast-forwarded through a little bit of it, if nothing else, because I really was anxious to get going with the show. And admittedly, I've got a couple other things to do today, but the ending was, it was a lot of fun. A lot of big spots, All four of these guys are fantastic. Jay Briscoe is a hell of a talent. All four of them really are. And it was a lot of fun. Again, overall thoughts about the pay-per-view. Wrestling-wise, it was outstanding. Production-wise, it was hit or miss. And that's something they really, really need to work on. Another thing, they talked a lot about the ropes and how the ropes are going to be a factor. And the ropes that they were using were the WWE-style ropes. And for the most part, if you've watched wrestling over the years, there's the ropes that WWE uses, and then there are ropes that WCW and Ring of Honor typically uses that more organizations use, and apparently they're a cable, and I don't know really the difference other than one seems looser than the other, but the commentators kept referring to the fact that each town has its own ring and yada yada yada. So I guess my question is, and I don't know this, and if anyone does know the answer, please feel free to tweet me or email me. I forgot to mention the email earlier, aroundtheringok@gmail.com. And actually, no, it was in another take. I went through all the hoo-ha. Tweet me at aroundtheringok. So if you know the answer to this. But they mentioned that, each city has its own different ring. So, I know the WWE takes their own rings with them. I just kind of assumed that Ring of Honor would have their own rings that they would take. I guess I'm wrong. But if anyone knows, how that works, I'm real curious to know how that actually all goes about. But overall, lots of fun. Ring of Honor is a heck of an organization. They have launched a shit ton of careers, different guys that have come from there, and I'm looking forward to seeing the next one. I hate that we really don't get Ring of Honor TV here, and it's always a week behind before I can get it online. Well, actually, we do get it. It's just on some crappy-ass times on one of our local, I think, Fox or CW affiliates. But I never get a chance to watch it because 99% of all TV I watch is online in one form or another. So, hey, Ring of Honor, if you don't get on Spike, Hulu Plus. Actually, I also tweeted that to Lucha Underground. El Rey, get on Hulu Plus. I want to be able to watch you and actually have ad revenue go toward you. Please. So that's pretty much it on Ring of Honor. Really good show. And lots of fun, and it's good to see. It's good to see there's something else out there other than just the WWE. Speaking of the WWE, this week one of the big storylines was dealt with Daniel Bryan. We had come out of the pay-per-view last Sunday, where Daniel Bryan lost to Roman Reigns. So on Monday Night Raw, he interrupts Reigns' promo and comes out and basically told Reigns, I was never a believer in you. I thought you sucked. You showed me something different last night. You're the man. And you better kick Brock Lesnar's butt. And it was a really, really good interview. It was a really good promo. And Bryan really did a great job in talking up Reigns and making him look strong. And it sucks that he's not going to be in the world title match. It sucks that he's kind of out of the main event picture. But we'll see what happens. So now we go to Thursday night SmackDown. Bryan's out cutting a promo. In the middle of the promo comes Bad News Barrett. And Bad News says, are you done talking? No one cares. I want my IC title back. Well, at the pay-per-view, Dean Ambrose, who foolishly lost the match, it was a horrible ending, left the ring with the belt. And Barrett's been freaking out ever since. Of course, then on Monday night, he lost a match to Dolph Ziggler. It was actually a good match. And then he is out here talking smack. And eventually Ambrose comes out. There's some exchange. At one point, Bryan picks up the IC title, looks at it, and later in the night, Bryan has a match against Bad News Barrett, and it was a really good match. Again, Daniel Bryan's in the ring, you're going to have a good match. And Bad News Barrett is actually really good. I like him a lot. But the two of them had a really stinking good match, and Bryan won, and it was a lot of fun. And R-Truth was on commentary, and I'll actually talk about that in a little while, because I actually really enjoyed it. But this really gets into Bryan's new role in the WWE. And Dave Meltzer, in his column this week, apparently, because I can't find it, but I've heard some commentary about it, talked a lot about the comparison between Daniel Bryan right now and Chris Benoit in 2004. And it is kind of eerie. What it boils down to is, in both cases, the WWE gave these guys a big moment, but they were never going to keep them around as the quote-unquote the guy, because they didn't fit their bill or what have you. And ironically, these are two of my favorite wrestlers in the world. And yes, I know everything horrible that happened with Benoit, but I just look at his in-ring career and I enjoy it. But this opens up all these new possibilities of Daniel Bryan competing for the Intercontinental title, Daniel Bryan wrestling a whole new set of guys. Because let's be honest, how many times do we really want to see Daniel Bryan wrestle Kane? How many times do we want to see Daniel Bryan wrestle Big Show or any of these other fools that he has to wrestle? Because the main event picture is all of like 4 people. So him into the Intercontinental picture is, I think, a really good thing to be. Solomonster suggested that he wins the Intercontinental title and is a long-holding fighting champion that helps to really build up new and mid-card incoming talent. And I think he's right, spot on. So it's looking like Bryan may be at WrestleMania in the Intercontinental title match, which is going to be a ladder match with Wade Barrett against an undisclosed bunch of challengers. And right now, it looks like it will for sure be Dolph Ziggler, R-Truth, and Daniel Bryan. That's kind of what's looking at, because those 3 guys have all had victories over Bad News Barrett in non-title matches in the last couple of weeks. There's also talk that Sheamus is going to get thrown in there, which I'm not a fan of Sheamus. Okay, let me rephrase that. I don't really have feelings about Sheamus one way or the other. He's had some great matches. He and Cesaro had some killer matches last year. But as a character, he's boring as all get out. He's like dishwater boring. So, I don't know, maybe if they bring it back as a heel, but just even if it's just a fatal 4-way with Barrett, Truth, Ziggler, and Bryan in a ladder match for the Intercontinental title, that's going to be a hell of a match. I mean, that's going to be a hell of a match, and that's something I'm really looking forward to. And I like the idea of Daniel Bryan mixing it up with people like Ziggler and Barrett and Ambrose. Oh, Ambrose is also going to be in that mix. And Ambrose and these guys, because these guys are all kick-ass competitors. And you know what? Let's look at it this way. So the main event picture in WWE is pretty bleak. Well, if we can get a secondary title picture, an upper mid-card range, that is really freaking good, who cares if the main event sucks? If we have if there's a set of wrestling that we can enjoy that is excellent, there's a title picture that is fun and competitive, and you can get those 2 mid-card, upper mid-card titles to mean something, we could just have shows surrounded by that, surrounded by the hunt for the Intercontinental and U.S. titles, and just leave the main event for the other guys. And yeah, eventually the hope and the goal is to get the people who can up into the main event echelon. But really, WWE needs to make the best of everything they have. Because if you think back to the day, back in the 80s and 90s, back when these mid-card titles really meant something, there was a lot of stiff competition for them. Think about back in WCW. Guys like Sting, Luger, Booker T, they went back and forth from fighting for the television title, the U.S. title, the world title, back to the TV title, back to the world title, to the television title, all throughout. And all of those titles meant something. And they were all prestigious. And same thing in WWE. You had... In WWE, it was more of a case of the Intercontinental title was a stepping stone, but often, those were the best matches. You could easily say that Randy Savage was a hell of a lot better Intercontinental champion than Hulk Hogan was ever world champion. And he certainly was the better worker and the better wrestler pretty much always. But you think about their concurrent runs when Savage was the Intercontinental champion and Hogan was a world champion. Savage was so much better as IC champion. And those IC matches were so much better than anything Hogan had. Just all you have to do is look at the Steamboat Savage match from WrestleMania 3, one of the greatest matches of all time. And it was, leaps and bounds better than every single match Hogan had at WrestleMania up to that point, including that year against Andre the Giant. As classic as that match was, the real good match of that night was the Steamboat Savage match. So bringing Daniel Bryan into this upper mid-card level title picture is a really good idea from that standpoint. And let's just enjoy Daniel Bryan wrestling kick-ass matches. Because honestly, I think he's going to have really fantastic kick-ass matches against the likes of Barrett and Ambrose and Ziggler. And let's let them have this their own division and just kick ass at it. Because if the upper echelons of WWE management can't get their head out of their ass and can't see that these guys are true main eventers, let them just steal the show every night with Intercontinental title matches and with U.S. title matches. So let's just let that happen and let that mean something. So yeah, that's pretty much that with Daniel Bryan. Now during all of this, in both Monday and Thursday, R-Truth came out on commentary, and on Monday he and Booker T had a lot of back and forth. He and JBL had some good back and forth. But what was really funny, and I know some people probably hated it, I'm sure Solid Monster and Don Tony and Kevin Castle and the Wrestling Soup guys are going to rip it to shreds this week on their shows, but I enjoyed the hell out of it. And Truth on Thursday was just hilarious because he was sitting next to Byron Saxton and he kept calling Byron Saxton coach the whole time, and Saxton was getting so fed up with it, and it was so damn funny. It was some of the best, funniest commentary to ever come out of that desk, that table. Normally it's awful, but this was really good, and it even made Jerry Lawler not sound so insufferable. And I think there was a big plus of JBL not being there. And Byron Saxton is really, really good. But the whole time, it was really funny. R-Truth is a great talker. He is a lot of fun, and he doesn't get utilized very much. And then they have him saying stupid shit like, whoop, there it is, because Vince McMahon is a clueless old fart. But, you let him sit there in commentary, that shit was funny. And I really enjoyed it. And it didn't take away from the match, because they still called the match. Michael Cole kept bringing it back to the match. Even Byron Saxton did, but it was a lot of fun, and I wouldn't mind hearing more of that. And in fact, when R-Truth is ready to retire, which I've heard rumors that that's going to be this year, I wouldn't mind seeing him on the commentary because he's pretty damn funny. So yeah, I am solidly saying R-Truth on commentary this last week, hilarious. And if you don't like it, that's fine. But I enjoyed the hell out of it. One other real WWE thing this week on Monday during Raw, Paige came out for a match against, it was a tag team match, her and Emma against the Bellas. And she was standing there in the ring, and before the match they decided to air a 4-minute long Sting video package, and that video package was actually really good. But then it came back, and we had the match that lasted all of 30 seconds. This sparked a lot of outrage and a lot of people heading to Twitter with the hashtag Give Divas a Chance. And then Stephanie McMahon went and posted some tweets about showing her support for Patricia Arquette and all of these things Patricia Arquette had said during the Oscar ceremony this weekend, last weekend, which I didn't watch. But apparently she said some things about, the women's movement, women's empowerment, all that stuff. And Stephanie McMahon makes some comments in support. And AJ Lee made a comment about, along the lines of, you have divas that are selling records amounts of merchandise, have some of the highest viewed segments on TV, yet they make a fraction of what their men make, and they're only given, a fraction of the time. Use your voice, hashtag Give Divas a Chance. Vince McMahon even responded at some point saying, we hear you, and just keep watching with the hashtag. At this point, the only place that it's good to be a woman wrestler, at least in the WWE, is in NXT. The perfect example is this week's episode of NXT, which was, a decent enough episode, not fantastic, not horrible, because there is no such thing as a horrible episode of NXT. But in this match, we had Bayley going against Becky Lynch. And it was a fantastic match. It went for a long time, and Becky won with this wicked armbar submission. And, it's the divas are treated with respect and given tons of time. The Bellas even made comments at a Comic-Con about the same thing after having seen that fatal 4-way match at TakeOver Rival. So it's a sad state. And I really hope that this whole at UFC this weekend, Ronda Rousey won the main event, her match in all of 14 seconds with a armbar. And, I just hope that Kevin Dunn and company in WWE don't say, well, we give our divas 30 seconds. Look how long that match took. Well, there's a world of difference. For one, that in UFC, they're actually fighting each other. It's not scripted. So it's like a boxing match. It could go on for the length of the entire time limit, or it could end in 10 seconds. And in this case, it ended in 14 seconds. And that's just the way it is. And I actually went back and watched it. I've never been a fan of UFC or MMA. But I watched it, and it was brutal. And I might actually have to start watching at least Ronda Rousey's matches, as it was entertaining. She's a badass, and I would love for someday for her to come into WWE and become a pro wrestler. She's a huge pro wrestling fan, and it would be a lot of fun. Can you imagine her and Charlotte going at it? But in order for that to happen, the Divas division would have to be improved and given respect, and that's not happening right now, except in NXT. And NXT is it's really, as far as WWE is concerned, it's the place to be. Speaking of NXT, a couple things that did happen on this week's episode. Really, the main thing, the Brian Kendrick was in for a match against Finn Balor, and Kevin Owens came out for commentary, and he and Alex Riley kind of got into it, and Alex Riley sucks at commentary. He really does. And at the end of the show, Kevin Owens had left at one point saying, I'm going to leave before I do something I regret. He came back out and he just picked up and hurled Alex Riley over the announce desk, and it was great. Riley apparently wants to get back in in-ring action anyway, so here's to hoping he does, because commentary is awful. So the only other thing really this week was Lucha Underground. Crazy ass episode. There were only a handful of matches, like 3. All 3 of them were outstanding. Drago and Aerostar had just I really enjoyed it. Flying all over the place match. At the end, Aerostar won. Dario Cueto came out of his office, said, "Okay, guys, well, you guys you've each beaten each other once. Let's do this a best out of 5 series, and then you will get one of my unique opportunities." So he said, whoever beats the other person 2 more times, so it's going to be best 3 out of 5. That should be a lot of fun. We're going to enjoy that going forward at some point. Brian Cage had a match against Prince Puma, the Lucha Underground champion, and it was brutal. And Cage just kind of destroyed the guy. And eventually, Conan came out, threw in the towel. Interesting ending. This Cage guy is just scary looking, and Prince Puma is awesome. I can't wait to see Puma just actually beat Cage at some point. Main event was King Cuerno against Johnny Mundo, and this one was nuts, and they ended up in a huge brawl outside the ring up into the rafters, and that they went off the air with those two just beating the tar out of each other. A lot of fun. So that was Lucha Underground this week. The only other, kind of real big story of the week is Brock Lesnar walked out of Monday Night Raw last week, apparently upset with a contract dispute, and lo and behold, he showed up front and center, cage side at the UFC event on Saturday night in a 3-piece suit, an ugly-ass 3-piece suit. Oh, my God. And, so he's sitting there next to Dana White, which is going to spark, all sorts of controversy, and especially with his negotiating with WWE for a new contract. I really hope Lesnar stays in WWE. I see a lot of value in him, and at least not with his current contract, because it just sucks, and he's not used as much as he should be. But I think he is someone that still has a whole lot of potential and could do a whole lot for the WWE and for wrestling in general. But he may end up showing up at UFC, and if that's the case, then I wish him good luck, and I'll probably check out a match or 2 of his. Well, hey, it's going to be a short one this week. That wraps it up for Around the Ring for today. Thanks as always for listening. Go ahead and check us out on the interwebs and the various spots. Our homepage is aroundtheringok.wordpress.com. You can follow us on Twitter at aroundtheringok. That's the handle there. Head over to Facebook. It's facebook.com/aroundtheringok. Give us a like on there. And we have a part of the Spark Radio Network. If you head over to the sparkradionetwork.com/aroundtheringok, we got a page on there, which I'm going to be tweaking sometime in the next couple of weeks. And also, you can send me an email, aroundtheringok@gmail.com. I'd love to hear from you. Questions, comments, suggestions. And anyone who has the answer to that ring rope question I had from earlier, I would love to hear the answer. But that's going to do it for this week. It's short and sweet because, like I said at the beginning, I watched everything and nothing jumped out at me other than I kind of enjoyed it all. So that's going to be it. Hope everyone has a great week. And as Jerry Springer has always said, take care of yourselves and each other.
You've been listening to Around the Ring on the Spark Radio Network.
All you have to do is change your point of view. And believe.
Austin 316 says I just whipped your ass. Damn! Woo!
This sucks more than anything that I've ever sucked before.
What? It's for charity.